Hey, this is Stephanie Szostak from A Million Little Things, and I'm sitting here with Elias from the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture.
Oh, yeah!
TV.
Nice!
Movies.
Oh, I love the movies!
Comedy and more. From deep inside the Man Cave, your host, Elias.
Stephanie, welcome to the cave.
Thank you, Elias.
How are
Happy
you?
to be here.
How are
I'm
you?
good.
Good. What's new with you? Now that you've season 2 has stopped recording, what's new with you?
Being home and being a mom and all that good stuff. So very happy to have some time off.
There you go. So, the listeners know you from A Million Little Things, and we'll talk about that. But you've been busy since early 2000s, with various movie and TV roles. And, let's start from there. I want the listeners to get to know a little bit more about you. Where are you originally from?
I grew up in France. My dad's American and my mom's French. But I grew up in France till I was about 19, and then I came to the States to go to college. Never went back.
Was that like a big goal of yours to come to the U.S.?
Not really. I didn't really. I played golf competitively as a teenager in high school, and I didn't really know actually if I wanted to go to college at all.
Yeah.
But come 12th grade, I thought maybe it would be a good idea because we don't have college sports, so it was a great opportunity for me to experience that. I actually took a year off after high school and competed in Europe in some amateur tournaments. I make it sound like I was really good. I wasn't that good. I was competitive, but not that good. And then so I took a year off and then decided to go to college because of the sports aspect, and also because in France we don't have liberal arts. So you sort of have to decide what you want to study, and I had no idea what I wanted to do.
So do you still play golf, by the way?
I do, but not that much.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time, and it's like 4 hours plus for a round, and But I still do, but not as much as I used to.
So when you went to college, what did you study there?
I studied business. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I thought, okay, that's probably the best, the safest thing for me to have something to fall back on. I didn't really know what interested me, but I took a bunch of different classes. Did not take any drama classes, but got a marketing degree.
So how did you fall into the entertainment industry?
At 29 years old, I was working in corporate America. Actually, at 26 years old, from working in corporate America, I went into modeling, which is not your typical thing. It was sort of a chance opportunity, and I thought, what the heck, why not try it? Because I knew my job was not really what I wanted to do. And then pretty quickly, I was like, oh, my God, I'd love to take an acting class. But people were like, you're crazy. You're too old. You have an accent. No way. And it took me 3 years to finally say, okay, screw it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get myself in a theater class. And then found a theater class in New York City with a teacher named Sandra Lee. And I was like, oh, my God, I finally know what I want to do. And I had no idea what level I was going to do it, but I just knew I had to do this.
Oh, wow. How long did you take acting classes for?
Oh, years.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
What
I kind of always loved to study.
Yeah. What would you say is the best experiences you had in acting classes?
Well, what comes to mind is the first time I did a monologue, and I finished the monologue, and all of a sudden, I had no idea where I was. I had no idea what had happened, but I felt more alive than I ever had felt before. And it's what you call a breakthrough, like sort of when you just forget everything. And as an actor, eventually you learn to find your way into the characters without being that far gone. But so that's I was like, wow, this is an amazing feeling.
So while you were like attending the classes, did you still do the marketing, or did you just stop that and just concentrate on the acting?
I did. I worked. My original job was working at Chanel in marketing, which was really, a fashion company and very cool. But so I left there, and then I worked part-time in an office and doing sort of data Excel stuff, and I was kind of a nerd with Excel. So I worked part-time and did modeling part-time and took theater classes, and then eventually, little by little, I think, at like 31, I quit that. I went all into acting.
Did you find it difficult at all, like transitioning from marketing to acting?
No. I mean, it's almost like it's two sides of you, you know. The one was really pragmatic, and I kind of call it the square. It doesn't make sense in English, but this is how I see it. Like my square brain and my round brain, and the square brain was the square me was the office me, and the round me was the one that was more in touch with my artistic side and free, and so. And I think they all serve a purpose, actually. Just later on when I just going to LA and to meetings and navigating the business side of the industry, it kind of helped me to have worked in an office and sort of know what that's like. Yeah.
So when you started doing theater and everything, like what was your ultimate goal? TV and movies? Is that what you had like planned out?
No, I didn't really have a goal. I remember telling a friend of mine, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, if it's going to be community theater. I just sort of went for it. My teacher said, you're an actor and you work, and I don't care what the work is, you have to work unless it's porn and you don't want to do that. And so I just everything that I could do, I wanted to do, and I didn't do that many plays. Even though my training was more like theater, pretty quickly I started doing short movies and then independent movies. That's just sort of where it took me, the road. I didn't decide, really.
Yeah. And it's good to always work. It doesn't matter what you get.
Yeah, and I definitely did not always work. I still have an accent, but my accent was a lot stronger. So I had a lot of periods of lean periods with no work at all, and a lot of rejection. And it's definitely a business of persistence and sort of delusion, believing in yourself.
But it's always good when you get something and you're always like the doubters against you. You're like, you know what? I did it and I got it.
Yeah, for sure. And especially starting so late. And, a lot of my friends were like, what the hell are you doing? Sorry. What do you think, you're going to be a movie star?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, you've done a few appearances. Like, you were on Satisfaction on USA Network. You had a part in Devil Wear Prada. Dinner with the Schmucks. Even though you were even a villain in Iron Man.
Yes.
How exciting was it playing a villain in a movie like that?
It was amazing. I was not a Marvel fan or a superhero fan. My agent called me and said, there's interest for you in Iron Man. And I was like, what? But I knew it was Robert Downey Jr., and that much I was just very excited about. And then I met with Shane Black, the director, who said, I'm thinking of you for the role of the villain. And that was super exciting because everybody always saw me for more the definitely not a villain.
Yeah.
I constantly would get things like, "Oh, she's not strong enough. She's not this enough." So that somebody saw me as that was super exciting and very scary at the same time. And then working with Downey is I think the best experience of my life. So I'm so happy I got to do that.
Well, before A Million Little Things, would you say that was like your favorite role, or do you have any other ones?
But my favorite experience.
Yeah.
And the role, definitely, yeah. And the role also was small to begin with, but then as in the finished product. But then when we were shooting, they actually made it bigger. So I ended up working for a lot longer, and then in the end, they brought it back to what it was originally. But yeah, it was my favorite experience. Just I learned a lot from Robert Downey Jr. He really helped me with sort of just letting go and trusting yourself, and just watching him work was really amazing.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, you star in A Million Little Things. You played Delilah. I want to, tell us about your audition when you first went in there for that. Were you auditioning for that role, or was it a different one?
Well, there was no going in there because I live
self-tape?
on the East Coast. I did a self-tape, and it was for Delilah, and it said, American accent, and I thought, well, no, I'm just going to do me because it's TV and it's going to be a lot of episodes. So I know that, I just want to have maybe less of an accent than what I have. But So I thought if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And they responded to it, and they asked me to come to test in LA. And for testing, it's like the second round when you have maybe 3 or 4 actresses who test in front of producers and the show creator and the director. But at that moment, I found out that it was going to shoot in Vancouver, and so I said, I can't do it. That's too far away. So my agent and my manager were really, really tried to convince me otherwise, but I said, no, that's too far. I'm not going. And that was, I think, a Thursday. And then on Sunday, they called back and they said, what will it take? We are family people. We'll make sure you can go see your family. And if you want it, we will give you the job. So there was no more testing anymore. And it was just, we'll give you the job. So my husband and I had a long talk, and he is the most supportive husband that I know, and he said, do it, it will be an adventure. And then 2 days later I was leaving for Vancouver to start shooting.
So how would you describe Delilah?
Well, it's hard because I think when you meet her, this most tragic, the biggest tragedy has happened. Her husband died by suicide. So she's dealing with grief. Also, her marriage was falling apart, and you find out at the end of the first episode that she was having an affair. So when to me, what was really interesting is when I read the script, is I really didn't know who Delilah was. I had no idea.
Yeah. And
the first season, she's dealing with all with shame and regret and guilt and grief. And second season, by the end, right where now we're airing, I think you're finally sort of getting a glimpse of, because the truth has come out. She's come clean to her kids, and that was actually a really interesting thing for me as an actress playing her, because all of a sudden I felt this weight lifted, when she came clean to her kids, and I realized, oh my God, she's had this. The shame really paralyzes the way you relate to people in the world, and then the distance from the grief is less. It's been over a year, so we're starting finally, I think, to see who Delilah was before all of this. And I think, she's an incredible mother. I think she brings people, the group together. Everybody said John was the one that brought everyone together, which is definitely true. But who was behind the woman behind John, who, that prepared the house for the parties and the dinners, and it was her. And so I think she's very generous, and to a fault, self-effacing. She forgot who she was, and I think that's why she got into the situation that she did, because she stopped fighting for who she was, and she really forgot who she was, which is something that happens when you devote yourself maybe completely to motherhood and being a wife, and you're not that fulfilled in other areas, maybe.
Is there anything you would change about the character?
No.
No.
Because that's drama. There's a lot of things that were hard for me to deal with.
Yeah.
All her decisions, she did not make decisions that I was like, oh my gosh, why? But that's drama.
Yeah. So like when you get the script and you read that and you're like, oh, this is what, oh, this is where we're going to go. Like, is there times where you're like, man, is it ever going to get better for her?
Yes, for sure. It's that, like, really now this, she's finding out this, or really she's deciding to do this decision, but then, you can't, that might be the initial reaction, but then you can't judge your character, and you have to put yourself in her shoes and have empathy and understand, which is an amazing thing, I think, about being an actor. It really reminds you not to judge.
Mm-hmm. And now, like, you have great chemistry with Lizzie Green and Chance. Like, how would you describe that? Since you said you're a mother and everything. Like, how would you describe the chemistry for that?
Oh, it's so natural. I love working with them. Playing a mother and my scenes with them is one of my favorite things on the show. They're amazing. They're so free. They put up with me, baby talking them or touching them like Chance. A lot of times I squeeze his shoulders in the scenes. And I remember when we started working, I was like, is it okay that and he was like, yeah, you're really good at playing a mom.
Do you ever have to turn off like mom mode when you're with them?
Turn off?
Yeah, like do you ever have to like you remember like you're their coworkers and you're not really like their mom? Do you ever like get that?
No, actually, like from the get-go, I was, my role is to be. I was like, I'm going to be their mom and take care of them, and that helps, I think, when you're during scenes, if you sort of adopt that role, even when the cameras are not rolling.
Now, like, how would you describe like the story like right now with like you and Sophie? Like, you guys went through like this little bump, and now like seems like things are getting better and better.
Yeah, and I think because of what happened, Sophie lost her father way too young under tragic circumstances. She found out that her dad was not who that her dad had a past that he hid from their family. Then she found out that her mother did too. It's horrible. So I think that they were forced into a new dynamic that is not your typical mother-daughter, and in a way, because I don't think it's necessarily appropriate for a mother to talk to her daughter about her love life ever, maybe when the daughter is grown up. But I think because of the circumstances, they're sort of forced into this older dynamic, as if Sophie was older. But it's kind of a beautiful thing that, there's nobody's to tell you what your relationship should be with your kid. And I think they found this new dynamic, and that's what it's going to need to be. Also, Sophie is helping with Charlie, sort of being, the big sister who's really taking care of the little sister. So she's forced into an older role.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're a mom sometimes to James Roday's character, also Gary?
Yeah, I think so. I think they sort of, because there is something a little bit childish about him. I think Delilah has always known that underneath the humor and the masking of, that Gary is a really sensitive person who's been hurt, and she knows how to deal with him in the way a mother knows how to do that.
So other than like your storyline for your character, what's been like? Do you have like another favorite storyline that's going on right now that you enjoy watching?
Oh my gosh, the adoption, that's really it's so interesting, and I have friends who adopted, and they had an open adoption, and there were so many things along the road that were so difficult. So I think that's great. I think the actors are amazing. I also love what's happening with Eddie, and finding out what is going on with his sister, and it seems like there's stuff hidden there, and is it going to explain sort of who Eddie is? And then, of course, Gary and Maggie.
Yeah.
I think Delilah, too, she's just like, oh, my God, you belong together. Like, when is this going to happen?
Right. My wife gets mad at that. She's like, can they just get back together and be done?
Yes, yes.
So how is it working with the rest of the cast?
It's the most incredible group of people. We've become all really good friends. I don't know. To DJ's credit that he assembled this group of people, it's amazing. Nobody has, a big ego. Everybody is a team player. We hang out. It's fun, and I think our chemistry, at the beginning was great, but then as through the season, it's when we're all together, all of us during scenes, it's our favorite thing. It's really hard for visiting directors because we won't shut up and we can't stop, playing around. But yeah, we have a lot of time hanging out together.
When I had DJ,
a lot of fun.
When I had DJ on the show, that was one of the things he said. He goes, when he first started casting, he goes, I wanted to find people like down to earth, strong, and like family oriented, and he wanted to like show each character the way he envisioned them.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, down to earth, definitely. Everybody is down. Yeah, and that's very cool. And also I think, it's not your typical network TV group of actors either. I mean, I know for me, when I started auditioning, I remember going for network, and then my agent saying, "You're never going to work on network TV because you have an accent, and they don't like accents." And I recently said this to DJ. I was like, "Thank you, DJ."
So he kind of wrote that in there in the scripts too, that your background was French and everything. He must have tweaked a few things around in there.
Yeah. In the pilot, he decided, he was like, "We'll make her half French, half American."
Is there somebody on the cast that you would love to work with even more, like have more scenes with, that you haven't had in the past?
Well, I was just, I haven't had that many scenes with Romany, and I'm like, I wish hopefully we'll have more, because we really didn't have that many.
What's the funniest thing that's happened to you on set?
The funniest thing, oh my gosh, why do I always blank? Let me come up with a good story for you. There's so many good stories. Okay, what's your next question? Maybe I'll come up with something.
Well, actually, my next question was going back to your acting world, or like, what do you enjoy more, self-tape or auditioning in front of people?
Auditioning in front of people for sure, because there's an energy in the room, and when you're self-taping, that goes away. And also, you don't get to be you send a self-tape, and you don't have a second chance for direction and doing it again. My favorite thing, I can't think of something funny. I'm blanking.
Do you have a favorite moment?
I love my scenes with Danny. It's just always so sweet. He's so in the moment, and a lot of times it reminds me of, it feels like I have two boys, so it reminds me of my younger boy. And when he does this belly laugh, and we improv together a little bit.
Oh, that's great.
That's always fun. Yeah.
So, you said you started late in your career. What's some advice that you would give to somebody if they told you, I want to get in the acting world, I want to get into theater or TV or movies? What would you tell them?
Well, first I would ask them why, and if it's for any other reason, then you can't imagine yourself doing anything else but, then you shouldn't do it. Like, you really need to love acting, love the craft. If not, don't do it, because there's so much rejection that you won't last. And then I would say, just make the role your own, and do not think about what people want or what you need to do to get the role. There's nobody who can do it like you, and that's what you can bring. What you can bring is unique, and if you don't bring that, if you cover that, then there's nothing there. I spent too many years trying to figure out, oh my God, what do they want? What do they want? And that doesn't work.
Do you have like a dream role that you want to play someday?
What came to mind just now was, the French movie La Femme Nikita, which I love. Something crazy like that would be fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So on your downtime, what do you enjoy doing when you're not working? I know you're a mom and you have kids. What do you enjoy doing? We just got a puppy. I actually am a real outdoors person. Love to, play golf, ride our bikes together, kayaking, walk in the woods, nature. I love being outside. It's a way that I recharge and release the stress and just forget about all the to-do list. Being outside is so, it's like you charge your phone. Yeah, I agree. And like today, we have a beautiful day today.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's amazing. I'm looking at the blue sky right now.
So, really, what's a fun fact about you that you want the listeners to know? Like something that nobody knows?
I'm married to an American man, and he taught me how to throw a football, and, maybe 2 out of 3 times I can throw a spiral.
There you go. So what's next for you in 2020? I know you got a break with A Million Little Things. Is there any other projects you're working on?
There's a book that I'm hoping, it's a spoof on a kid's book. It's for adults. That's all I'll say, because I don't know if what's going to happen with it, but I'd love to get that started, and then just right now focus on being home.
There you go.
Yeah.
So lastly, how can the listeners find you on social media?
All I do really is Instagram, and it's at Steph Shortstack.
All right, Steph. This was fun. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Elias. Have a good day.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap, everybody. That's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to the Man Cave Chronicles podcast.
I finally get my man cave.
You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the MCC Podcast, and our website, themccpodcast.com. Until next time.